And yes, in this video, we're going to talk about practice.
Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
By now, you've seen a dozen videos on how to write the perfect prompt, right? Act as a senior developer, generate the code in this exact style, use these specific libraries. But let's be honest, how many times do you actually go back to that code and read it only to find that it's a nightmare to debug and crazy to maintain? Especially if you decide to make this a big application or a company behind it that you now have to maintain yourself. And literally, it feels like it was written by a machine, because it was. Hey, if by chance this is helping you at all, hit that subscribe button. Love to have you around this community. We are building or attempting to build things and systems and applications that allow us to use AI in development to get time back inside of our lives. So if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Back to the video. It's like literally having a genie, like having Genie inside of Aladdin, giving you all of your wishes that you could possibly ask for, but not actually giving you exactly what you meant. So if you haven't guessed by now, I'm digging into the fact that that is the secret, or the dirty secret, that nobody really talks about inside of the vibe coding community, around the entirety of the community at large. That stuff gets really messy and sloppy, no pun intended, really fast. But what if I told you that the key to actually doing this the right way and becoming the proverbial 10x developer with AI has to do with practice and more to do with slowing down than anything else? Because if you want to be the kind of developer that can architect robust, stable, non-brittle systems, it isn't about the latest AI tool, but it may be more about what you have on your bookshelves, or maybe on your digital bookshelf. So in this video, I'm going to give you some books that I've read or that I have in my arsenal that I need to go back and read. And these books have given me the frameworks that I use inside of my projects day to day, or inside of the project that I'm building right now, going forward, to actually construct a project the right way, think about it the right way, and actually get it maintained or maintainable for my future self. So book number 1, The Pragmatic Programmer. This is going to help you take your, just looking at what AI develops for you, and actually craft with it. Now, this book, like I said in the title, this book is very old. It was published and released in 1999, but it is one of the books that every developer that I've worked with and any developer that I've seen on Reddit always swears by this book, because it gives you the framework on how to think about software engineering and software development as a whole and as a craft, so that you're not just looking at throwing things together, but actually trying to craft something that will be a quote unquote masterpiece that you will be proud to show to everybody later on. The core of this book isn't about a language or a framework. It's about mindset. It's a book about becoming a software craftsman. One of its most powerful ideas, especially now with AI, is tracer bullets. Now, the concept is simple. It's like drawing a complete stick figure skeleton of your entire application before you start adding muscles or skin. Now, this isn't a throwaway prototype. It's just a way of practicing what you're trying to build before you actually bring it all together or write any code specifically. So you're talking through, or at least if you're doing this in terms of the AI development world, you're talking through everything with your AI so that you can land on shared verbiage before you actually write any code. Most people use AI just literally throwing prompts at it and hoping that everything gets better. That can work, but it may not. Now, book number 2 is Linux in a Nutshell. An AI can generate flawless application code, but that code doesn't run in a magical cloud or just a magical black box. It runs on an operating system, specifically on a server's operating system, possibly more notably than not, Linux. This is where a classic reference like Linux in a Nutshell by Ellen Seaver, Stephen Figgins, and others becomes indispensable, because it represents a different kind of knowledge, not just how to write the software, but how to operate in the real world. Think of it this way. Your AI is a brilliant automotive engineer who can design a revolutionary engine on a computer, but you are the master mechanic who has to install that inside of a car, hook everything up and hook all the fuel lines up, deal with the electrical system, and make sure that everything actually turns on when the user presses the button, or if you're using an older car, turns the key. AI doesn't necessarily know about certain things like file permissions, environment variables, shell scripting, and stuff like that. Although it can have access to it and it can write it, it may not necessarily know how it works on your machine and how it should work for your application. That's where you, as the developer, should have that intuition and know-how so that you can guide it and tell it what it should be doing. Because over years of work, you've mastered how to actually do this by hitting your head a lot of times and getting scars over and over and over again. And those battle scars actually help you now, and they make you faster. Next up on the list is domain-driven design, which is basically because in the AI development world, context is king. So Eric Evans' 2003 masterpiece, Domain-Driven Design, Tracking Complexity in the Heart of Software. This book is thick, dense, might I add, and it is a commitment if you want to get through it. It does have some strong opinions on how you should model things inside of your application around your business. Now, those opinions may be a little bit too strong for where you currently are in terms of building a business, especially if you're just starting out. That's fine. But it's something that you want to have in your back pocket, especially when you're dealing with software, because business is hard and business in software is even harder, especially if you don't know where the guardrails actually are. And then unleashing an AI to actually go into the Wild West and figure all that out for you. Again, you're asking your future self to have 1,000 headaches every single day. So this book helps you think through things like when you talk about a customer, who do you actually mean? Are you talking through a business customer, or are you talking through a person that is actually maybe a homeowner or a car owner or something like that? Are you building for a end user, or are you building for another business? Now, you might be wondering at this point, what does this have to do with your AI coding assistant? And I need to tell you everything. The single biggest failure that I've seen, at least in my own goals with AI in the last couple of months, specifically, especially in the last few weeks, going day to day with AI and building a product with it, this matters a lot, because these are things that if you don't have the answers to when you actually bring it to your AI, it's going to guess, and it's probably going to guess wrong. Next up on the list is refactoring. And let's be honest, your AI developed code that you first write is not going to be the end all be all code that you're going to write. In fact, it shouldn't be. Now, this book by Martin Fowler should help you think through constantly improving your code as you go through the life cycles of your product. But you want to do that through small, safe changes that don't necessarily break the entire bridge that you're building. In this stage of the game, in this part of the game, it's about cleanup, simplifying, and making your life as the developer easier. Now, again, I have more hard truths that we have to talk about AI coding assistants. And they are great at producing code very fast. But again, because of that speed, they may do things that are completely off the rails. Even if you tell it or give it specific context, it still can hallucinate and do things that you weren't actually needing it to do. So in this particular situation, the thing that comes to mind for me when I'm actually using or developing inside of my actual application is a skill that I came across by Matt Pocock that investigates my entire code base and actually looks for deep modules and all the actual software development stuff that is needed to be inside of a project to make it maintainable long term. Now, with this book in your arsenal, hopefully when you look at your project, you don't necessarily just see a big old mess. You see potential, because you can now treat your AI like an output mechanism or an output machine that you can guide, steer, and maneuver and make it do what you actually want it to do. But if it doesn't, you now have the tooling to actually have a conversation on how to bring everything back into the fold. The next book on the list is Release It by Michael Nagard, which was released in 2007. Now, this book I actually have a physical copy of because it's that important when you're talking about shipping software into the real world. Now, if you haven't figured this out by now, every time that you use AI, it's the ultimate optimist. It is going to give you an A-OK or an A+ on everything that it's doing and everything that you're doing as well. Writes code assuming every network call will succeed and every database will respond instantly. And we all know that that's not how real software works. It has no concept of real life or real situations unless you tell it what to actually have a concept for. When a downstream service that your application relies on suddenly goes offline, what do you do? This is where this book right here is going to help you a lot, because you can transform your prompting from write a function to call the weather API or call some API of some sort. Instead, you can say write a cron job that starts at 7 p.m. and ends at 10 a.m. going through all of the catalogs of all of my content and transcripting everything, if that's what's a part of your application. At this point, we all can pretty much understand that AI is really good, or at least the models that have come out in the last few months and weeks are getting better. But the best model always is going to need some kind of guardrails and some type of grounding in the real world, because they're just machines. They're math. It doesn't have it unless you give it. And this last book is Software Engineering at Google. I put this on the list because Google has a track record of building systems on how to actually build software with real people. But this time, we're going to take that same paradigm and shift it into real AI agents. So, Software Engineering at Google by Titus Winters, Tom Mantrick, and Hiram Wright. All the other books may focus on code design and actual systems and stuff like that. This one zooms out to the engineering culture and practices needed to keep software alive for the long haul. Its central theme is the difference between programming and software engineering, because to them, or at least in this book, programming is just writing code, but software engineering is a whole craft unto itself. Well, and now you might be thinking, especially if you're coming to this channel, how does this make me a 10x AI developer / entrepreneur / solopreneur or whatever? Well, because if you're going to do this for the next 10 years, you're going to want to think about how your software and maybe even how your agents are constructed, if that's how you want to run this entire operation. Because it is literally at that point that you stop becoming a consumer of AI and you're now in the trenches, literally getting your hands dirty on how does this stuff work? Where can I fit myself or my 2 cents into the conversation on directing how it works and all that kind of stuff. And you're building a product. So at the end of the day, you need to know way, way more than just a developer who is working at a company. So while everyone else is chasing the next viral ultimate prompting guide or context engineering situation, again, I'm going to tell you that you need to practice, and practice by reading these books and others that you find around actual software engineering practices and concepts. But again, if I can leave you with nothing else, this book, have it on your bookshelf if you don't already, because it is going to save you a lot of headache. Now, if you got this far inside of the video and you like to build applications and use AI to build applications and specifically use it to build a life that you can be proud of and that gives you time back inside of your life, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you around this community. We are going to build using AI to build applications and systems and all kinds of stuff to build leverage inside of our lives to build or buy back time in our lives. And again, love to have you around this channel. Love to have you around this community. And until next video, till next time, y'all be smooth. Learn out.